Chapter 3738. Slaying Life, Death, and the Great Tao. A dark red piece of wood about the size of a washbasin was connected to all the great Taos in this virtual real spirit realm. Lin Moyu could sense that it was constantly emitting a unique aura in layers, causing the great Taos that passed through to quickly become calm. It was this piece that was organizing all the great Taos and controlling them. Little Python asked,
Master, is this what we're looking for?
Lin Moyu nodded.
That's right, a primordial origin treasure material.
Little Python curiously asked,
What's a primordial origin treasure material? Is it powerful?
Lin Moyu said,
It's on the same level as the primordial origin virtual treasures held by great domain emperors.
Little Python let out a
Wow,
with shining eyes.
that's amazing.
Lin Moyu nodded.
Now let me see how to deal with this thing.
He didn't approach it, but instead activated the Ice Jade Lotus platform, attempting to freeze it. The cold energy from the Ice Jade Lotus platform was special, not belonging to any great Tao, so it naturally wasn't controlled by this treasure material. Even small spirit domain kings could be frozen, so Lin Moyu thought this treasure material would also be affected. Suddenly, the treasure material reacted. Numerous great Taos transformed into whips, dispersing the cold energy with crackling sounds. The great Tao power traced back to its source, causing the Ice Jade Lotus platform to vibrate several times before falling silent. The transparent barrier in the sky cracked, and a large amount of aura from the real world descended, falling onto the treasure material. The treasure material emitted a red light, and a dark red giant quickly took shape. Lin Moyu's expression changed as he realized what the treasure material was doing. It was drawing in the aura from the real world, completing the fusion of virtual and real, then merging with the great Taos to evolve a spirit. The treasure material as the core merged with the great Taos. Its aura grew increasingly powerful, with the pressure it emitted alone surpassing that of a great Tao lord. The massive aura pushed the two of them away. They could only watch from afar, unable to approach. Little Python trembled in fear. This time it finally saw clearly, its eyes filled with terror. Suddenly, a small spirit appeared within the treasure material.
An artifact spirit?
Lin Moyu was surprised. This was just a material, not a treasure, yet it had produced an artifact spirit. This showed how high the level of the treasure material was, increasing Lin Moyu's interest even more. However, he also noticed that although a spirit had been born within the treasure material, it wasn't a true artifact spirit. Its eyes were vacant and empty, clearly lacking intelligence. It only had instincts, viewing all who entered the virtual real spirit realm as enemies. Such a spirit, no matter how much time passed, would never develop true intelligence. A monster composed entirely of great Taos appeared before Lin Moyu. It had a form resembling both a tiger and a deer, with thick fur and a long tail. Even though it was just evolved from great Taos and not a true living being, it still felt very real, completely different from virtual beasts. Lin Moyu frowned. This monster seemed familiar. A thought struck him, and his expression turned to surprise.
A primordial beast.
He recalled the primordial beasts he had seen in the small world long ago. Why would he see a primordial beast here?
Do the primordial beasts in the small world have another origin? Or is this also arranged by the green-robed old man?
Lin Moyu couldn't hide his shock. At this moment, his mind was in turmoil, something outsiders couldn't understand. Little Python said with a crying tone,
Master, that thing is so scary.
Lin Moyu's gaze focused slightly, and the small and cute sword Dao Lich appeared before him. The sword Dao Lich, now free from its lightning shackles, happily called out as soon as it appeared.
Master, what are your orders?
Lin Moyu said,
Kill it.
The sword Dao Lich had been warned not to attack great Dao lords, but nothing was said about not attacking a treasure material. Without hesitation, the sword Dao Lich transformed into a sharp sword and flew towards the monster. The true body of the sword Great Dao it had copied appeared, causing the Great Dao to rumble incessantly, almost shattering the entire virtual real spirit realm. The primordial beast-like monster let out a roar, its fur suddenly growing longer. Each strand of fur was a great Tao, lashing out like swords and whips. The sword Tao Lich didn't show any mercy. Lin Moyu heard its angry shout in his mind.
Slash!
A sword light flashed, and all the whips were cut off simultaneously. The sword Tao Lich had copied the true body of the sword Great Tao, possessing power no different from the true body of the sword Great Tao itself. Although the treasure material controlled many great Taos, they were all a chaotic mess compared to the sword Tao Lich's power. The treasure material's monster let out a shrill cry, clearly dissatisfied that its great Taos had been cut off. The ground split open, and countless stone men charged out again. But this time they rushed towards the sword Tao Lich. Thunder rumbled in the sky, and a lightning giant appeared, much stronger than the previous lightning giants. Then waves surged and volcanoes erupted, with water giants and fire giants appearing as well. Not only that, but various great Taos evolved into all sorts of creatures, all charging towards the sword Tao Lich. The sword Tao Lich let out a disdainful snort. Sword light exploded, and countless swords shot out from the sword Great Tao, tearing all the evolved giants to pieces. Then, a giant sword appeared in the sky, slashing down towards the primordial beast evolved by the treasure material. The sword light surged, shaking the spirit realm. The virtual real spirit realm was torn open with a huge gap. The barriers in the sky shattered, and the ground completely split apart. Little Python was dumbfounded. It knew the sword Tao Lich was strong, but didn't expect it to be this powerful. Not just Little Python, even Lin Moyu was surprised. The power displayed by the sword Tao Lich was no less than that of the four-armed tribe's world will. If not for the restrictions placed on it, they could have used the sword Tao Lich to deal with the four-armed tribe's world will back then. Unable to kill great Tao Lords naturally meant it couldn't kill world wills either. So Lin Moyu hadn't even considered using the sword Tao Lich at that time. The monster created by the treasure material using great Taos was also shattered by the sword light. The treasure material was struck by the sword light and flew off into the distance with a bang. Lin Moyu said,
"Don't let it escape."
The sword Tao Lich transformed into a stream of light and flew out, calling out,
"Don't worry, Master, it won't escape."
The sword Tao Lich quickly caught up with the treasure material, slashing out several times in succession, forcefully cutting it back. The treasure material was sturdy enough that the sword Tao Lich's attacks couldn't damage it. However, the spirit inside the treasure material was howling in anger, the entire material radiating hatred. Lin Moyu waved his hand, and the world-burning fire blazed fiercely. Though the sword Tao Lich couldn't cut through the treasure material, it didn't mean the world-burning fire couldn't burn it. For dealing with such spirits, the world-burning fire was the best choice. Sure enough, as soon as the treasure material touched the world-burning fire, the spirit inside began to scream incessantly. This kind of spirit, which couldn't even be considered a true artifact spirit, had no resistance against the world-burning fire. Lin Moyu pointed his finger, and a void-sealing divine rune flew out. The 1,000 paths and myriad images formation within it descended, enveloping the treasure material. Now it would just take some time to wear down the spirit and obtain the treasure material. Although the virtual real spirit realm was very dangerous for virtual beasts, and even small spirit domain kings might die inside, for Lin Moyu the danger wasn't high and was relatively easy to deal with. The sword Tao Lich returned to its cute doll-like form and circled around Lin Moyu.
"Master, wasn't I amazing?"
Lin Moyu smiled.
"Of course you were amazing. We owe this success to you."
The sword Tao Lich looked smug.
"That's right. In the future, Master can call on me anytime. We'll help Master slay life, slay death, and slay the great Tao."
Chapter 37-39. There's something ahead. The primordial origin treasure material was trapped in the 1,000 paths and myriad images formation, burning in the world-burning fire. Its ability to filter great Taos had completely failed. No matter how much it screamed, it was to no avail. There was no escape. When it had great Taos to control and manipulate, utilizing the fusion of virtual and real, it could exert power in the soul void surpassing that of a great Tao Lord. But once it lost that environment, it was far inferior to a great Tao Lord. A material is just a material even if it develops a spirit. Unless it can truly produce an artifact spirit, it has no chance of truly taking form and becoming a formidable existence through its powerful true body. But for now, it couldn't do that and was easily suppressed and destroyed. Under the scorching of the world-burning fire, its cries grew weaker and weaker until they completely disappeared. The treasure material that had been struggling fell silent, no longer showing any movement. The spirit inside had been burned to ashes. Looking through his undead eye, Lin Moyu confirmed that the spirit within the treasure material had been completely burned to death. However, he didn't immediately remove the formation, but let the world-burning fire burn for a while longer, just to be safe. After all, the level of the treasure material was too high. No one could say for certain whether the spirit born from such a thing might have some hidden abilities, so it was better to be cautious. After burning for quite some time and confirming there was no movement from the treasure material, Lin Moyu finally removed the formation and withdrew the world-burning fire. Taking the treasure material in hand, it was a dark red piece of wood about the size of a wash basin, unexpectedly heavy. Even Lin Moyu felt some strain holding it. Normally, a soul body shouldn't feel weight, but he did now. Lin Moyu knew this was the weight brought by the Great Tao. The Great Taos in the virtual real spirit realm were converging towards the treasure material. Holding it felt like supporting the entire virtual real spirit realm. This piece of wood gave Lin Moyu a different feeling compared to the triangular material given by the Golden Lion Great Tao Lord before. The triangular material didn't have an obvious yin-yang virtual real feeling, but this piece of wood had a strong sense of it, indicating that its level was slightly higher. Lin Moyu examined the dark red wood, turning it over and looking at it from all angles. He felt it should also be part of some treasure.
Where exactly do primordial origin treasure materials come from? Those primordial virtual treasures are all incomplete. Primordial origin treasure materials seem to have fallen out of some treasures as well. What exactly is going on?
Even with his knowledge, he couldn't figure it out. Lin Moyu recalled the scene he had witnessed when he became a small spirit domain king and merged with the small spirit domain. That exquisite palace that had exploded. He couldn't help but think that the primordial virtual treasures had all been blasted out of that palace. They should all have originally belonged to some being.
I can't figure it out.
Lin Moyu sighed lightly, no longer dwelling on it. His level wasn't high enough. No matter how much he thought about it, it wouldn't help. He took out the catastrophic scepter and gently tapped the dark red wood. Bang! With just a light tap, a thin crack appeared on the treasure material. The entire virtual real spirit realm shook violently, and countless cracks appeared on the barrier in the sky that reflected the real world. Then Lin Moyu struck a second time. More cracks appeared on the treasure material, and the same happened in the virtual real spirit realm. Not only did cracks appear on the barrier, but also on the ground, and even in the surrounding space. The virtual real spirit realm existed because of this treasure material. If the material was shattered, the realm would naturally collapse. Lin Moyu had a thought, and a void-sealing divine rune flew out and expanded. The five-element giant appeared in response. Xiao Xiong called out loudly.
Master, what are your orders?
Lin Moyu said.
Help me guard.
Without hesitation, Xiao Xiong extended its large hands, closing them to form a protective grasp around Lin Moyu and Little Python. Only then did Lin Moyu continue to strike a third time. Cracks spread densely, and the treasure material looked like it was about to collapse. The virtual real spirit realm shook more and more violently. Fourth strike, fifth strike. After 5 strikes, the treasure material split in half with a bang. The great Taos it had been drawing instantly fell into chaos, exploding like dynamite. The entire virtual real spirit realm shattered, and the great Taos ran wild. As the virtual real spirit realm collapsed, Lin Moyu instantly returned to the vacuum zone. At the same time, an extremely violent great Tao storm erupted in the vacuum zone. The 5-element giant stood firm in the great Tao storm, all its formations flashing. Many formations were damaged or even collapsed in the storm, but the main structure remained intact. A moment later, the Great Tao storm ended, and Lin Moyu breathed a sigh of relief. It was good that he had the foresight to anticipate something like this happening and called out the five-element giant. If he had faced this Great Tao storm himself, he might have died several times. As for Little Python, it would certainly have died completely. Little Python flicked its tongue.
It's all thanks to Master, otherwise it would have been dangerous.
Lin Moyu smiled slightly. The treasure material in his hand had been split in two. He put away one piece and continued to hold the other in his palm, with the immortality fire emerging from his palm to envelop the material. Summon the elemental lich. The reason Lin Moyu split off part of the treasure material was to summon an elemental lich. Then he began to draw divine runes to repair the damage to the five-element giant. The five-element giant's damage wasn't severe, and it was fully repaired in just half a day. Lin Moyu smiled and said,
Thanks to Xiao Xiong this time. We might need you to guard again next time.
Xiao Xiong called out loudly.
I would die 1,000 deaths for Master.
Compared to the spirit without intelligence in the treasure material, an artifact spirit like Xiao Xiong was truly invaluable. After recalling Xiao Xiong, they continued on their original path. Before entering the virtual real spirit realm, Lin Moyu had already had the skeleton generals line up in the vacuum to serve as directional markers, guiding him in case he lost his way. The Ice Jade Lotus platform continued to emit cold energy, freezing the Great Tao powers, allowing Lin Moyu to move through the vacuum zone as if strolling through his own backyard. The treasure material in his hand showed no change in the immortality fire. Lin Moyu wasn't in a hurry. The material's level was too high, and summoning an elemental lich would take time. Lin Moyu hadn't expected it to be so easy to enter a virtual real spirit realm this time. The difficulty of obtaining primordial origin treasure materials was lower than he had imagined. He hoped to encounter several more virtual real spirit realms and obtain more primordial origin treasure materials. Finally, after several days, the treasure material being used began to show signs of melting.
I wonder what kind of lich will be summoned this time. I guess there will be another Great Tao Tribulation. The fact that it can attract a Great Tao Tribulation indicates that the level of primordial origin treasure materials has reached the pinnacle of heaven and earth.
Such pinnacle materials clearly showed signs of artificial refinement, having shattered from various treasures and fallen here. There must be a reason behind this. Although he couldn't figure it out, Lin Moyu knew that the reason behind primordial origin treasure materials must be a huge secret concerning the great Taos of the entire world. If he could unravel it, perhaps he could fully see the entire world, including both the real world and the soul void. The treasure material slowly melted in the immortality fire, the melting speed very slow. It would still take some time to burn completely. Lin Moyu wasn't in a hurry. He continued along the planned route while searching for new virtual real spirit realms. At this point, Little Python would be of great use. It was easier for it to find that faint light in the pitch-black vacuum zone, while Lin Moyu's view was filled with dazzling displays, making it very difficult for him to search. After several more days, the treasure material was about to melt completely when suddenly Lin Moyu's brow furrowed.
Stop!
Little Python immediately stopped.
Master, what's wrong?
Lin Moyu looked ahead.
There's something in front.
Chapter 3740. Encountering the Primordial Beast again. Little Python immediately looked over, its vision better than Lin Moyu's in the pitch-black vacuum zone. It faintly saw a shadowy outline.
It's just an outline, not very clear.
Little Python called out. Lin Moyu could see a bit better than Little Python. A primordial beast was flying towards him, its speed reflected in the brilliant display of great Taos. Lin Moyu's brow furrowed. As the primordial beast approached, its outline became clearer. Lin Moyu couldn't help but exclaim,
A primordial beast. To be precise, it has the appearance of a lie beast.
Since he didn't know its true identity, Lin Moyu referred to it as a primordial beast. It looked exactly like the primordial beasts he had seen in the small world and recently in the virtual real spirit realm, but this one was stronger and larger. The primordial beast charged towards Lin Moyu, and he sensed a will locking onto him, specifically onto the primordial origin treasure material in his hand.
It's been attracted by the treasure material.
Lin Moyu thought that the reason the spirit from the treasure material had taken the form of a primordial beast was because it was referencing the primordial beasts in the vacuum zone.
The primordial beasts in the vacuum zone and the small world look identical, which is no coincidence. In the small world, I saw that primordial beasts were hard to kill. It was actually foretelling some of their characteristics.
Lin Moyu realized that to kill a primordial beast in the small world required using laws, so in this place, he would need to use great Daos, and not just any ordinary great Daos, but extremely powerful ones. Lin Moyu's thoughts raced, and he activated the Void Sealing Divine Rune. Xiao Xiong once again controlled the five-element giant to engage in battle. Lin Moyu knew that if he used the Sword Dao Lich, he could probably defeat the primordial beast. However, he wanted to test the five-element giant's combat experience this time. He had been thinking about how to further enhance the five-element giant. The Sword Dao Lich had many restrictions, including the elemental lich summon this time, which would likely have limitations as well. The five-element giant, however, had no such restrictions. Improving the five-element giant would greatly benefit him. Lin Moyu also had another idea about the Sword Dao Lich. He wanted to bring it back to his own world and replicate the complete Sword Great Dao, integrating it into his own world. Of course, it couldn't be simply integrated. Lin Moyu's ambitions went far beyond that. He wanted his own world to surpass the one he was currently in. The Sword Great Dao could be merged into his world, undergoing multiple evolutions to become his own Sword Great Dao. This was Lin Moyu's pursuit. Because of this, Lin Moyu didn't want to rely too heavily on the Sword Dao Lich. He needed his own means of defense. Xiao Xiong controlled the five-element giant to charge forward and collide with the primordial beast. The impact sent both flying back evenly matched. The primordial beast was enormous, not smaller than the five-element giant. As they clashed for the first time, they were evenly matched. The primordial beast let out roars, causing the vacuum zone to shake incessantly. The great Daos were distorted and deformed, and the previous brilliance dissipated. Xiao Xiong excitedly called out, continuing to control the five-element giant to fight the primordial beast. Lin Moyu observed for a while and roughly judged the strength of the primordial beast. It was stronger than a great Dao Lord, even surpassing someone like the third ancestor, a great Dao Lord of the origin Great Dao. However, it was slightly weaker than the four-armed tribe's world will. It wasn't that great Dao Lords were weak. Their strength was in the real world, specifically in their own worlds, which were their main battlefields. In the soul void, their power was discounted. Great Dao Lords were still among the strongest figures in the world. Even if they weren't a match, escaping wouldn't be a problem. Lin Moyu analyzed the strengths and weaknesses of the primordial beast. An evenly matched opponent allowed the five-element giant's advantages and disadvantages to be fully revealed, much clearer than when facing the four-armed tribe's world will. Lin Moyu carefully observed and analyzed areas for improvement. His divine rune formations were one of his trump cards. They might be very useful when facing the world will of the origin continent in the future.
Due to the limitations of my realm, my understanding of divine rune formations has reached its limit. It's difficult to break through to the next level.
However, he could continuously improve them within his current capabilities, making the formations more perfect at their current level. With this idea, Lin Moyu refined his thoughts and found areas where the five-element giant could be improved. The formations that made up the five-element giant were strong but had drawbacks. He thought of the symbol masters in the great world who used treasures to store symbols. When the symbol formation was damaged, the symbols could automatically repair it. Reflecting on this, Lin Moyu realized he could adopt a similar method. In addition to the formations, if he could equip the five-element giant with suitable weapons, treasures, or armor, its combat power could be greatly increased. However, his hypothetical enemy was the world will, so ordinary treasures and armor wouldn't be effective. He needed special, more powerful treasures that didn't come from the origin continent. Using treasures from the origin continent to fight the world will of the origin continent would be pointless. Therefore, He needed to find them in other worlds or refine them himself from his own world. The five-element giant and the primordial beast fought back and forth, their powers not far apart, neither yielding. Both the primordial beast and the five-element giant borrowed the omnipresent power of the great Taos, which was endless and wouldn't exhaust them. This battle could last a long time. Finally, the primordial origin treasure material in Lin Moyu's hand completely melted, and a small elemental lich began to take shape.
What will it be this time?
Lin Moyu wondered. As the elemental lich was about to fully form, Lin Moyu stepped back to make room for the impending Great Tao tribulation. With the five-element giant holding off the primordial beast, he didn't need to worry. A silvery laughter echoed in his soul.
Master! Master!
The affectionate call stirred Lin Moyu. He felt a mysterious connection with the elemental lich, accompanied by a strong sense of familiarity. Previous elemental liches had similar feelings, but they weren't as strong. Now, with the elemental lich having gained intelligence, the feeling became even more intense. A cute elemental lich appeared before him, its appearance not much different from the Sword Dao lich, except its hair was bright red and lacked the sharpness of the Sword Dao lich. It wore a bright red bib, looking like a little girl doll. Boom! A massive pressure swept in, and a large tribulation cloud appeared in the void. Thunder rumbled, and the surrounding great Daos were dispersed as heavenly punishment descended. The elemental lich rose and entered the tribulation cloud to undergo the great Tao tribulation. No one could help her. She had to face it alone. The tribulation cloud quickly formed, tearing open a rift in the void. A pair of gigantic eyes lit up,